In the world of lending, you know that one of the biggest compliance headaches is hiding in plain sight. It's that very first conversation with a potential borrower. If you get it wrong, you can set off a whole chain of regulatory problems. So today, we're going to demystify Regulation B and answer one really critical question. When does a loan application actually start? Yeah, this is the core challenge, isn't it? A potential borrower calls, you have a friendly, helpful conversation, and somewhere in that chat, you might accidentally cross a line from a casual talk into a formal, regulated event. And the really scary part, you might not even realize it happened. So where exactly is that line? All right, here's our game plan for today. We're going to find the starting line, talk about the ticking clock that gets triggered, understand the big fork in the road, figure out how to navigate the different paths, and we'll finish up with the final word you'll really need to hear. Okay, let's dive right in. The single biggest compliance risk isn't buried in some old paperwork. It's right here, at the very first point of contact. This is the moment where you absolutely have to know the difference between just talking and officially taking an application. Think about it like this. An inquiry is your safe zone. You can talk about your loan products, your standard criteria, all day long, no problem. But the second you take customer-specific information, you evaluate it, and you communicate a decision back to them, even just a simple verbal no, you've just stepped into regulated territory. You've triggered an application. This sequence right here is what regulators call the bright line test. And notice, it has nothing to do with a signed form. It's simply this. You evaluate customer info, you decide what to do, and you tell them your decision. The moment that happens, the Regulation B clock starts ticking. So let's bust a few common myths right now. An application can be totally verbal. It does not need a signature. You know that quick, soft denial email saying you're probably not interested? Yep, that counts. And any pre-approval that gives a clear yes or no, you better believe that is absolutely an application under Regulation B. Okay, so an application has been triggered. What happens next? Well, a clock starts immediately, and you are officially on notice. This is the 30-day rule. The magic number here is 30. From the instant you receive that application, and remember, that could be verbal, you have exactly 30 calendar days to take one of a few required actions and formally let the applicant know. The clock is running. So on day 0, the application is received. That kicks off the main 30-day clock for taking action. But be aware, it can also start a second, much faster 3-day clock for appraisal notices if the loan involves certain kinds of residential properties. We'll touch on that again in a bit. Now, the specific action you need to take within those 30 days depends completely on whether the application is considered complete or incomplete. This right here is the critical fork in the road. And here is maybe the most important part of this whole discussion. A completed application is not some universal checklist from the regulators. It is defined by your bank's own procedures. It's whatever information you regularly get and consider for that specific type of loan. So for a commercial loan, for example, your internal policy might list everything from business tax returns to info on the collateral. The key thing is, the moment that final item on your checklist is received, the application is officially complete and the next set of obligations begins. So that brings us to the 2 different paths you have to follow. Your response is going to be dictated by whether that application checklist is finished or not. If the application is incomplete, you've got 2 choices inside those first 30 days. Option 1, you can deny it for being incomplete and send an adverse action notice. Or option 2, you can formally request the missing stuff by sending a notice of incompleteness. Now listen, the best practice here is almost always the notice of incompleteness, or NOI. Why? Because it creates a perfect paper trail. It proves you did your job, and it puts the ball squarely in the applicant's court. If they don't respond, the file is just considered withdrawn. You're done. No further action needed. So what if the application was complete from the start? Or maybe the applicant sent in everything you asked for? Well, now you've got a complete application and a final decision has to be made and communicated. For a complete application, you have 3 possible outcomes, and you have to let the applicant know one of them within 30 days of the application becoming complete. You can approve it, you can deny it and send the formal adverse action notice, or you can make a counteroffer with different terms. And the takeaway here is simple. There is no secret 4th option. Every single complete application has to end in one of these 3 outcomes: approval, denial, or a counteroffer, and you have to communicate that decision inside the 30-day window.
Now, there is one special little exception for counteroffers. If you make a counteroffer and the applicant just doesn't respond, they just ghost you, Regulation B gives you a longer 90-day window from the date you made the counteroffer to send out the official denial notice.
And finally, a quick but really critical reminder on appraisals. If your loan, even if it's a business loan, is secured by a first lien on a small residential dwelling, you have a separate, much faster deadline. You have just 3 business days from the application date to send the applicant their notice of right to receive an appraisal, and you have to provide them a copy before closing. You do not want to miss this one. So we'll end on the single most important takeaway from all of this. It's not just about what your written policy manual says. In the eyes of an examiner, your procedure is defined by what your lenders are actually doing every single day. Those informal emails, those off-the-cuff verbal conversations, that is your real-world procedure, and that's your risk. So the crucial question to leave you with is this: does your daily practice actually align with your written policy?